Let's call the meeting of the Board of Public Works to order on August 27th, 2021. Diane, could you please call the roll?
Commissioner Tease?
Here.
Commissioner Pappas? Here. Commissioner Moriarty?
Here.
Commissioner Shoneman is absent. Mayor Donches?
Here. All right, we have a quorum. First item is the motion to approve the agenda. Commissioner Pappas.
I'll move to approve the agenda as presented.
Discussion? All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion passes. Next item is to approve the minutes from the meeting of July 22nd. Commissioner Moriarty.
Yes, I move to approve the minutes of the Board of Public Works meeting of July 22nd, 2021.
Any discussion? All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion passes. Next, we have public comment. Is there any member of the public who would like to address the board?
Do I need the mask on up here too? Or? Okay, I'll leave it on. Good morning, my name is Michael Curtin. I live off Spitbrook in Nashua. Some of you may be aware that the city of Nashua has a street hockey court. More accurately, we have an old tennis court that's been repainted with hockey lines that we play hockey on. It's located at the end of Grand Ave between Ledge Street Elementary and the Boys and Girls Club. While I'm here today just as a citizen of Nashua, I run the hockey program at the Boys and Girls Club of Greater Nashua for the last 11 years. We use the court in the spring for pickup hockey and the middle school street hockey league that we run with PAL. And we also use it in the summer for a teen street hockey league that we just finished up for the season this past week. I've played pickup hockey with a group of adults every week from April to August for the last few years. It gets a lot of use, but it needs an upgrade. The court's filled with cracks and other damage from winters and roots. The fencing is coming apart in places, and it's not tall enough on the ends to protect spectators both at the hockey court and the adjacent baseball field. While I was laying on Dr. Moriarty's treatment table earlier this month, we were talking about my volunteering at the club, and specifically the hockey program and the court. He invited me to come today and speak about my efforts and see if there was an organized way to move this project forward. I've worked for the past few years to try and get it refurbished. I started out in April of 2019 by reaching out to the ward alderman. I was told that it wasn't in the budget, but he suggested that I come out to the mayor's town hall meeting in June of 2019. I did that and spoke with the mayor, telling him much of what I'm telling you today. Following that, his chief of staff put me in contact with the public relations administrator at the DPW, where I was told it's not in the budget. Since then, I spent periodic follow-ups where I was told it's not in the budget, and they tell me that, but it's on the list for improvements, but they can't tell me where on the list it is. I also reached out to Jason at Parks and Rec this past May. He was very responsive and came out to see the court and discuss it with me, but I'm sure you can guess his answer. It's not in the budget. My question to you is, how do we get it in the budget? I limited our summer hockey league to 24 kids this summer, and we filled it up without much effort. My plan is to expand it next year back to pre-COVID levels, and we typically get 50-plus kids for the spring middle school league with PAL. Each of the four middle schools has a team: Pennachuck, Elm, Fairgrounds, and Nashua Catholic St. Chris. There are a lot of kids using this court, and I'd like for them to have a facility that they can be safe on and be proud of. I have some ideas, and I've put out some feelers for sponsorships and grants to supplement what the city is willing to commit. But I think the first step is to have a good plan in place and to have the Board of Public Works on board. What do you need from me to get this moving?
All right, well, thank you. So we limit the public comment to 3 minutes, and I think you were in that.
Did I hit?
So we will, I think what we need to do is, thank you for bringing this forward again. We will check out the condition and the costs of what it might take to improve the court, and we will get a report from Jason or Lisa next month. How would that be?
To start?
Okay.
Mr. Mayor, can I?
Yes, Commissioner Pappas.
I think, it sounds like it would be really helpful to find out the number of kids are involved. It sounds like you have like a decent amount of people that play there. And there was a tennis court that nobody was taking care of over at Shady Lane, maybe? And I think the pickleball people kind of took it over. And I know we probably did the initial improvements. And, I think that we should, to have a plan in advance, as you say, get it in the budget. It also sounds like an area that could use some recreation.
Definitely.
Commissioner Tees.
Thank you for bringing this to our attention. I was wondering, do you have kind of a list of improvements and what the costs are?
I do. I have some rough cost estimates, and I'm guessing that Public Works can probably be a little bit more accurate on the paving. But my paving estimate, and these are just really rough estimates, paving about $15,000. If we do a sport court flooring, about $11,000, and boards for $15,000. Some other options would be lighting, scoreboard, and we would probably need some landscaping as well.
Thank you.
So that the tree roots don't immediately take out the new one as well.
Thank you.
Okay.
And
Commissioner Pappas.
I don't think this board ever voted to limit public comment for 3 minutes. We're pretty much 5. I know the Board of Aldermen did, but I don't believe that we ever voted that. But anyway, that's my recollection. Thank you.
All right. Ms. Ortolano?
Lori Ortolano, 41 Berkeley Street. Just a couple of things. I attended the budget hearing and the public hearings for allocating escrow money. And there are 9 items that have to do with DPW where money was transferred and allocated. One of them, this gentleman that just spoke, was $56,000 to use to fund citywide playground improvements. I don't know if there's some money in there for him on that. I just don't know. But one of my concerns I have is I don't understand why all of this goes through the budget committee or a hearing through the aldermen, and it really hasn't been presented to the DPW. Disc golf is on the agenda today. That's great. I don't know if all the other things have been on the agenda, but it just appears like we operate backwards. I mean, it just doesn't seem like DPW should be the last stop on hearing the plans that have already been approved, the money transfer and the allocation by the Board of Aldermen and the Budget Committee. It just doesn't make any sense to me. Also, I attended your hearing on, or your meeting on August 10th regarding the Joint Committee of Infrastructure and the DPW Board for the building of the new office facility. And frankly, I asked if there would be public input. I received an email from Tim Cummings saying there would be. I didn't demand it. I didn't argue for it. If you don't want to have it, it's certainly your choice. These issues being decided on public comment seem to happen by an individual. I don't think the board or the group as a whole decided on it. When I came to give public comment, I felt I was very rudely interrupted by Chairman O'Brien at 1 minute and 55 seconds because I wasn't speaking to items on the agenda. You put it first. And he very harshly let me know that you had 3 minutes and that's it. And, we're doing this as a favor to citizens. Don't do it as a favor if it's disingenuous. Don't give public comment if you really don't want it. I was cut off at 1 minute and 55 seconds. I was gypped my last minute and 5 seconds because I was told I wasn't speaking to what's on the agenda. Do you remember what your agenda looked like? There was no board packet. How could I possibly speak to these things when I didn't even know what they were? CM contract, I didn't know what that was. And I don't understand. So I can't speak to an agenda that has no material that I can prepare for to come in. Put public comment at the end if that's the way you want it, so I can listen to what you're talking about. Secondly, I don't think that the subcommittee of this working group is appropriate or necessary. It seems like a way to splinter out the group, to have decisions being made that are not brought to the full joint group, because there were significant motions. There was a motion to spend $15 million instead of 10, and it wasn't even on the agenda. So I couldn't question that because I didn't know the motion existed. If the subcommittee meets and you discussed a motion to spend $15 million And your subcommittee is there to recommend to the full joint committee what you're proposing. A $15 million expenditure should have been on the agenda and should have been written out completely so citizens know. So I really feel that the way you operate is just so backwards, and I can't track what's going on with money. It's very difficult. Thank you, and I overextended my stay. Thank you.
All right.
Mr.
Mayor?
Yes,
If I just
Commissioner
may- may
Moriarty.
comment out, in defense of the Alderman O'Brien, who's chairing the meeting, my recollection is Citizen Ortolano started to talk about the COVID-19 restrictions, and I thought it was appropriate that Alderman O'Brien said it was not on the agenda and not appropriate, so.
All right, thank you.
Yep.
Commissioner Pappas.
My suggestion for the next meeting, because I was caught off guard when I saw how much extra money was being spent. I think the director and Ms. Thibodeau understand what we're used to getting for packets. We get very detailed items. And, you know, the next time we have a joint meeting like that, if the motions are written out, because I noticed that Director Cummings had to read all the motions because they really weren't on there. And I just think that, I think we're used to seeing a very professional packet, and maybe that would be a good solution. Thank you.
Okay. All right, the next item is, well, we have Parks and Rec. Item A, Commissioner Tease.
Sure, I move to approve the installation and implementation of a disc golf course at Roby Park.
I thought we were having a presentation.
And I think Mr. Popolo is going to talk to this?
No, I'm actually going
Oh,
to
all right.
speak to it, Mayor.
Sorry.
So, and we also have Dickie Smart, and I believe, I was just asking, I can't see from here who's on the call, but there may be some others. But I wanted to say that this whole project is something we've been working on for quite some time. And one of the things that really, that I love about my job is just this grassroots effort of people coming together for something that's important to them and really working together to make it happen. And there are a number of people that have been involved in this. And if I'm repeating myself because we've already talked about disc golf, my apologies, but I just want to make sure that I get the information out there. Alex Mclean, who I'm not sure is on the call right now, I think he may be. Yes, he is with his family. Hi, Alex. That's the problem with being remote. I can't really see everybody. So Alex is really initiated this from the start. Every time I was at the street department, he'd approach me and say, hey, you know, I've got this idea. I think this would be really great. And was really pretty relentless. And then Dickie Smart came along with a petition that he gave to the mayor with about over 200 signatures, I think, right? And is part of the Gate City Disc Golf Club, right? And has been just, the two of them together have been incredibly enthusiastic about this project. We also brought in a world champion. His name is Avery Jenkins, who has agreed to design the course for us. I think you met him the last meeting, and he's pretty famous, as I've found from many people who I've talked to. We also met with Helen Honoro of Rotary. They're very interested in working with us and funding the project, so we may not need any funding actually from taxpayer dollars, which is pretty exciting. But I'll certainly keep the board informed of that as we work out those details. I also met with Alderman Cleaver and former Alderwoman Melise Golia, and they are, I think, more excited than we are about this potential project. So we had asked Avery Jenkins to come and review some sites and tell us where he thought the best site would be. So the first site that we had looked at was Udickie, and that was probably the favorite site, but then we found out that we would need to use the Terrell Conservation Land, and that became a lot more complicated. So we decided to not go that route. The second option was Roby Park, and that's the wooded area that's behind it. It now has a bit of a walking trail, but we've had some issues with some nonsense going on back there, so this would help to open it up a bit and sort of make it more accessible for all Nashua residents. So three of the things that I really love about this project is there's no cost to play. There's no cost, which is, how many things can you do, right, that doesn't cost something. It's also a great family sport. And I think Alex or somebody will speak to that a little bit later on. It's something that can be done if you have with small children, if you have difference in age in your children. It's something that a family can do together and be outside, which is great. And it's open to all residents. There's not any exclusivity. It's not a club. It's something that any resident could take part in. So I'm very excited about this project, and I'm going to turn it over now to Dickie Smart, who has a presentation for you. And again, he and Alex and Avery are the experts.
Excellent. Thank you for the wonderful introduction, Lisa. Mr. Mayor, Commissioners, thank you for having me here today. I really appreciate you taking the time to hear us and finally move to begin this project. We don't see the presentation. Okay.
While she's doing that, I will say that Alex is actually on vacation right now and was kind enough to join us. So thank you, Alex, for taking time out of your vacation.
Excellent. So as Lisa was mentioning, as most things do, it takes a village. So there's a few of us working on this. Myself, Alex and Avery, obviously Lisa and her staff, Jason, as well as Lauren Sutherland from the city, who has been an excellent resource for us, especially while we're out walking the properties. She provided us all of the mapping and those types of things. So let's just jump into this. Oh, there we go. So for those of you who don't know what disc golf is, it's basically a sport played just like golf, except for you use flying discs and a target instead of a club and a ball. And so we use basically the same rules. We're trying to hit par. Under par is better than over par. Every hole has a tee pad and a basket, and your goal is to get through 18 holes in the fewest shots possible. Disc golf courses are very low impact. It is a very passive activity that we play. It actually fits really, really well in parks, land that otherwise has no real use for a city. So we're going to talk about why disc golf and why we're doing it now, what a course design looks like, how the course installation goes along, and then the environmental impact. I will turn it over to Avery, who is on the line. He'll speak to you about what it's like to be a professional world champion disc golfer as well as course designer. So why disc golf? Because of Ed. This is Ed Hedrick, Steady Ed as he's known in our world. He is PDGA number 001, the very first official number given out. This community that built itself along with the sport is probably enough for any city to embrace disc golf, but I'm going to give you a little bit more as to why we play disc golf and why Ed wanted this for our country. It started in California in the 70s, and they were just looking for an alternative to golf. If you've played golf anytime recently, you realize it's expensive. It costs a lot of money. Disc golf doesn't. Uh-oh.
Is it just a blank page in the presentation? Is it really a blank page within the presentation? Diane, is that page just blank by chance? If you scroll to the next one?
I think we're back to page 1 and it's not.
Okay.
That good?
Excellent. Okay, so as technology goes, we'll just keep flowing. Disc golf in the US and in New Hampshire. So what does it look like? These numbers are probably old as this course number and the sport itself is growing exponentially right now. But as of last check, there are over 6,500 courses in the US. That leaves you with 2 to 3 new disc golf courses being installed about every 24 hours. We have cultural and sport ambassadors that come from all over the country, and we think there's somewhere between 3 and 5 million players. And then we have, I think, about 32 courses in New Hampshire. Talking a little bit about me and my personal struggle, I found disc golf in college in Missoula, Montana. I played regularly there and back in New Hampshire when I returned. One of the big things for me is I also found alcohol at college. And as of November of this year, I'll be celebrating 5 years of sobriety. I'm 80 pounds lighter. And I couldn't have done it without this sport. I couldn't have gotten through this COVID epidemic without the sport and keeping my sobriety. So in November, so about 3 years ago, we approached Nashua Park and Rec. We founded an organization called Gate City Disc Golf with the sole purpose being to bring a community disc golf course to the city. I'm going to turn it over to Alex for a minute. He's going to tell you what disc golf means to him and his family.
How you guys doing? I'm Alex Mclean. I work for the street department for since 2015, and since 2015 I've been pretty avid about pushing towards disc golf in the city of Nashua, where I live with my family. My son Aiden, as you can see in the photos, he plays disc golf, loves teaching kids about disc golf. We actually volunteered with PAL and put on a whole little disc golf show and to show all the kids what it was about. My wife also plays. The photo there is of her at the 2016 U.S. Women's Disc Golf Championship in Hazardous in Maine. We do a lot of traveling to play. We're in Colorado right now. We actually checked off 4 extra courses in Colorado, and we're a family that really enjoys it, and it's free. We introduced our Grandma Kelly to it the other night, and she is hooked. It's great for people of all ages, and it's certainly going to be a great thing for the city of Nashua if it works out. And yeah, we're a giant disc golf family.
Thanks, Alex. So just to remind you what we're talking about, why for Nashua, why now? Steve Dodge is the director of the Disc Golf Pro Tour, and he basically said this last year. More courses are going in, but they're going to be much more professionally designed. In the past, these were just grassroots efforts where we all went in and made a course together. Now we're bringing Avery on board because we want a professionally designed course. And I've been very, very excited to get started developing a relationship with Jason and the city around this much needed improvement in our recreational portfolio, as you would. So a lot of people ask about Greeley Park, and don't we already have a disc golf course? I would say to call this a disc golf course would be a disservice to any disc golf course. This is what we would call a practice facility, much like you would see a putting green, like a practice putting green at a golf course. You wouldn't go out and play around on the putting green, you would practice there. This is where I learned and polished my putting skills, my upshots. It's a great facility. We share the space with some live action role-playing folks. It's wonderful, but it's been there for 30 years. It's very underutilized. So talking about how we got here today. We were told by the Park and Recs Department, you gotta get citizen signatures and engage the mayor. So that's what we did. We collected over 120 signatures. We handed them over to the mayor, along with a charter stating what our group was going to do. Since then, we've been actively promoting our organization, and we have collected now more than 250 signatures. So persistence, what you gotta do is persist. We're here because we want to understand what we need to do. Lisa got our petition. She put me in contact with Alex, and the rest is history. Avery was here to speak with you, and he's here again to tell you what he wants to do in Nashua. So take it away, Avery.
Good morning, everyone. Thanks for having us and listening to what we have to say about disc golf and obviously trying to bring it to Nashua at a very high professional level. What I do, I'm a professional disc golf course designer. I'm a former world champion. I've traveled the globe playing in 21 countries and 49 states, so I'm very keen on what it takes to put together a very high-level professional course, but the idea is to make it very widespread and accommodate a lot of skill levels. Again, Alex talking about bringing his family out to play. That's what we want to do in Nashua as well. Have that ability to have a nice course that's going to be a good draw to families and children, but also bring it to a high level where we can actually host tournaments at a very, very professional level. A lot of big disc golf events happening throughout the Northeast this time of year. Massachusetts being a big draw right now, Vermont being a big draw in the following weeks, and it would be really nice to have New Hampshire on that circuit eventually with some professional courses and some really nice locations and venues. Again, I've been playing disc golf for over 30 years. I've played 1,250 courses throughout the world. I live and breathe disc golf every single day. It's what I do for a profession and a career and a hobby all in one. But what I want to do for Nashua is really, again, bring in a professional level course that's going to accommodate a lot of skill levels. And through our surveying of multiple locations and parks throughout the city, you know, we're really just looking for a location and a venue that's going to provide the best variation of terrain and open and wooded, and just try to have the best variety of shots. And I think, you know, we're looking at Roby. It's got a lot of really nice natural features. And when we're talking about putting a disc golf course in, it is a very natural sport. It's a very low impact sport. We're not trying to level and clear and widen big areas of land like a golf course. We're at one with nature. We like to have our fairways through the trees and have some clearing and kind of limb up certain things. But the trees are our friend. That's the object, that's the obstacle, and that creates the challenge and the difficulty on the course. So it's all about how you shape and integrate certain shots by utilizing certain natural features on the property. So as you see on this slide right here, using, you know, doing an evaluation of the land, looking through, trying to find that natural feature, the natural landscape, and utilize that, bring it in. Focusing on using good safety, good separation, good barriers, trying to integrate a good transition and good flow as you go through the course. Holes 1 and through 18. providing, a fun, interesting, challenging, but difficult layout to keep people coming back. If it's too easy, a lot of players just kind of, they might not want to go back there. They'll try something else per se if they're not into disc golf. But having that challenge there, it brings them back to do better and try to shoot better each and every time. Like we talked about, the flow, the transition, the good variety of shape shots, and really trying to bring in the natural aesthetic and the beauty of the course and the beauty of the park. And I think in that area right there, it's a very high activity area, but I think having another activity that's going to bring people in to that location is going to be very, very a good asset to the community and the city of Nashua. A little bit about the equipment we use. We discussed having a basket, installing baskets out there, 1 through 18, even the possibility of having different basket locations with a sleeve that goes in the ground. We can actually lift the basket out and change positions from a shorter location to a longer location, say an A to a B or a short to a long, to have a shorter course, but then to push it back for a longer course, say if there's a tournament in town. And then the tee pads we actually use a turf tee pad. And what it is, it's a piece of turf wrapped around a wooden frame with crushed rock. It's got a really good beauty, really good aesthetic. It's got good grip, good durability, good longevity, and it looks really nice when and performs really good when you're out there playing the course.
Thanks, Avery.
Thank you.
All right, so after we get to that point, if we do install a course, what does the course and park maintenance look like? That is something our organization, Gate City Disc Golf, would love the honor to be stewards of the land. We will work directly with Jason and his team, as well as Lisa and her folks with Public Works. But we'll be taking care of most of the work after the install is complete. So we're not adding any more work or effort to the city. So how do we get a community professional disc golf for Nashua? That's why we're here. So we walked around 47 miles over 3 days. We decided that Udicki and Roby were the places. As Lisa's already told you, we opted for Roby. There's a few things that Roby had that Udicki didn't have. And some of that was some more elevation changes, as well as glacial erratics or rock formations that are out there that make for really, really nice features of the course. So this is the property we're looking at. This is Roby Park. On the front end here, you see the sledding hill, the parking lots, the baseball field. The area marked in red is 48 acres of land that currently has a walking path and a nature trail. And part of that opportunity for us as a scientist and educator, one of the things I like about this is we have an opportunity to put things out there like what is a glacial erratic? What is a deciduous tree versus what types of pine trees are out there, and sort of make it not just a disc golf course, but a place to educate the youth of our city. So this is just kind of a more detailed view. These are the 9 acres that are used for softball, sledding hill, the ice hockey rink, and the playground. We have really no interest in being over on this section of the property. We are much more interested in there. So at Roby Park, what do we need? We've talked a bit about parking. There's a parking issue there. We think we understand it, but we will need more parking. The existing trail system that is there won't be removed, but it'll be kind of repurposed. So it'll be a walking trail, but it will be kind of moved out more towards the exterior of the property. Tree limbing and fairway sculpting. As Avery said, we're not going in there and clear cutting fairways. We just want to limb some pine trees and remove some of the scrub trees and brush and that kind of stuff. There is a bit of forest cleanup out there. There's a lot of down trees. There's a lot of limbs. And I've been doing my best every time I go out there. I've been going out with a trash bag and cleaning up as much as I can. I am happy to report the last time I went out there, I could barely fill a shopping bag with trash. So it's getting nicer. So to conclude, I just want to thank everyone on the Nashua Rotary Disc Golf Park team, Avery, Breaking Chains, Gate City, Mayor Donchis, all of you here today, and that's all I have. Thank you for your time and attention.
All right, anybody have any questions? Commissioner Teves.
Before I ask my question, I just wanted to let my colleagues know, for 11 o'clock, I need to leave to take a business call. I'll just be gone for about 10 minutes. My question is, I believe all other parks and fields within the city require a permit for use, or at one time they did. Will this course require a permit, or is this kind of open all the time?
So the course is typically open all the time. So it's a kind of a use at your own risk. For organized events, leagues, tournaments, that kind of stuff, I'm working with Jason, and we will follow all of the city rules and requirements. I believe there's an insurance requirement for organized things, but as it's just open for play, it's like any other park, use at your own risk.
Hey, great job.
Thank you.
Going after your dream here. Good job.
Thank you, appreciate it.
Commissioner Moriarty.
Yeah, just a quick question. It's the first I heard that Nashua Rotary West was involved. I hadn't heard that before. So what actually is their involvement with the sponsorship?
You want to take this one, Lisa?
But, again, I've got to work out all of the details, but my understanding is they are going to fund the entire cost of the park.
Great.
Commissioner Pappas.
How much have we spent so far on it?
I'll have to get you an exact number, not a lot, maybe $5,000 or so. But I can look that up.
At the next meeting, thank you.
Yep.
Anyone else? All right, well, thank you for your presentation.
Thank you again.
Very thorough. Now, the pending motion is to approve the disc golf. Is there any discussion? Commissioner Pappas.
I think process is really important, and my recollection was initially we were going to put it down by the boat ramp. That was the initial discussion. And then I had heard that we were going to do it Dickey, and then someone told me that that was off. And one of the things, it's really good to see people so excited about it, but I think that we have to kind of look at the optics here. That we do already have a court or putting green, whatever you want to call it. That was put in 2001, I think. And I'm always concerned that we're going to have a few people that are very excited to use this, and then a few years go by, and it all ends up looking very broken down. The other issue is, I think we should table this, and I think that we ought to have a walkthrough. There should be, we should mark every tree with that orange tape that's going to come down. And I think that we should put stakes up where you're going to each of the 18 holes. And I would really like to see the community over there involved, because it's one of those things where they're going to wake up and use their walking trail and see that and see this. And not that I'm any arbiter of good taste, but they're kind of it's obtrusive looking. That's the only way I could put it. And land in Nashua is really at a minimum. And you can't put a price on open space. And, I just don't think that there's been enough community involvement. And I think that people over there are going to get very upset when they see that go in. And, as far as the $30,000, if it's going to be paid for, I'm not in favor of spending that money. And it's, aside from the money, I really think that we ought to have the community take a look at that. And we should table this. Let's do a walkthrough. Let's see what this is going to look like, because once the trees are down, and I appreciate them cleaning up the trash, and I understand that there might be trees down there. But when you think in terms of walking trails and, discs that are going 70 miles an hour, that sometimes that can be I can see that as a bit of a safety issue. So those are my concerns. Thank you.
Any other discussion? Not really. Commissioner Moriarty.
I am in favor of anything, Mayor, in this city that's going to get people outside, get them exercising, improving their health, improving their mental health. I'd be in favor of this project. I'm also in favor of the previous project of paving the street hockey court, which is not related to this, but again, that's activity, it gets people out, it's healthy. Yes, I'm in favor of it.
Any other comments? Well, was that a motion to table or just a suggestion?
I'll move to table.
All right.
I didn't want to make a motion because then I wanted anyone to add to the discussion. That's why I waited to make it. So I moved to table.
All right. All those in favor of tabling say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion fails. The pending motion is to approve the disc golf. Any other discussion? All those in favor of the motion say aye.
Aye.
Opposed?
Nay.
And the motion passes. All right. We now move on to the Wastewater Department.
Thank you, Alex and Avery, for coming and taking time out of your day. You can leave if you'd like now.
We're moving on to the Wastewater Department. Motion, the first item is item A. Commissioner Pappas.
I'll move to approve the user warrants as presented.
All those in favor of the motion say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion passes. Next, we have item B. Commissioner Moriarty.
Move to approve the rebuild of a Ross water pump by First Electric Motor Services, Inc. of Woburn, Mass. in the amount of $43,541. Funding will be through Department 169 Wastewater, Fund Wastewater, account classification 54 Property Services.
And is Mr. Boucher here?
He is.
Yes, I am, Mayor.
He's here remotely.
Okay.
Thank you, Dave Boucher, wastewater superintendent. The wastewater facility had removed a pump out of the wet weather facility, one that had failed. We sent it to First Electric to have it disassembled and investigated to see if it was a pump that could be rebuilt. It is a candidate. So this cost will cover the cost of the rebuild parts, the rewinding of the motor, testing, a new power cable, and delivery of the pump motor.
Any discussion? If not, all those in favor of the motion say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion passes. Now we're on to the Solid Waste Department. Item A, Commissioner Teams.
I move to approve a contract with SCS Field Services of Reston, Virginia to construct an expansion of the landfill gas collection system in the amount of $457,720, pending bond approval. Funding will be through Department 168 Solid Waste Fund Bond Activity Landfill Gas System Expansion.
And we have the superintendent.
Jeff LaFleur, Superintendent Solid Waste. Thank you, guys. This is an expansion of our gas collection system into the Phase 3, our new landfill that we just started filling in a year and a half ago. This is going to extend our header line, which collects all the gas from all 3 of the landfills and runs it to the plant. It's going to also include 8 horizontal lines that'll collect gas. We are actually starting to produce gas in the new landfill already. Hard to believe it's that quick. It'll also put in some leachate collection system gas expansion, so we'll be hooking into the leachate collection and drawing gas off that.
All right, questions, comments? Commissioner Pappas?
A little bit unrelated. Do we have any pending approvals from DES or permits that we're waiting on for anything?
We have quite a few actually from DES right now that we're waiting on. We're waiting on an expansion to Phase 3, our zigzag, so we can continue gaining airspace there. And we also have the Phase 4 permit that we're talking about, the 4.1 million cubic yards of airspace that we should gain if we can get the permit approved.
Any guesstimate on when you'll get the permits?
DES is very slow. We're waiting. We're pushing as hard as we can to get it moving as fast as we can, but you can only push DES so fast.
But if they change the rules between now and the time we get it, will that possibly cause a problem? You know what I mean?
It shouldn't, because our application has already been submitted, so it would be tough for them to say, oh, but it depends, on what happens. I don't anticipate that. We don't anticipate that, because there's nothing in the pipeline right now, there's in the rulemaking or anything.
Okay.
And Commissioner.
But you're correct, Commissioner Pappas, it's important to get that as quickly as we can, so that
And
we're
that's
grandfathered.
why we started so early,
Okay.
and we pushed it forward to get it going. I mean, we wanted to be in before DES made any changes.
Thanks a whole lot.
Thank you.
Commissioner Moriarty?
Thank you. Superintendent, so once the gas is collected, the city does make some money on that gas, right?
We do. Unfortunately, I don't have the numbers towards that. I don't pay attention to that. We just ship the gas to EPP, and that's through through the city that they give us some. I do know we got a nominal amount last year, but it's also part of our permit that they have to destroy all the gas anyway, so any amount of money that we make on top of it is great.
Thank you.
Anyone else? All right, all those in favor of the motion say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion passes.
Thank you.
We now on to engineering. We have Mr. Hudson, city engineer. Item A, Commissioner Pappas.
I'll move to approve the residential and commercial wastewater service permits and fees as submitted.
Any discussion? All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion passes. Item B, Commissioner Moriarty.
Move to approve the following poll license petition, PSNH number 21-1559.
All those in favor of the motion say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion passes. Item C, Commissioner Tease.
I move to approve the engineering consultant contract with Hazen and Sawyer of Manchester, New Hampshire for the CMOM implementation Phase 2 in an amount not to exceed $2.6 million. Funding for this contract will be through Department 169 Wastewater Fund, Surf Loan Activity, CMOM Phase 2, pending approval.
Mr. Hudson?
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. Good morning, everyone. Dan Hudson, city engineer. So as indicated, this is for the CMOM program, which stands for Capacity Management, Operation, and Maintenance. And this is related to the city's wastewater and sanitary system. These efforts are required by EPA. This is a program that we started back in 2018. We broke it into 2 phases. We got our initial, authority from the state and the city for the whole program, but we broke it into 2 phases, so it was a little more manageable contractually. So this is entering into the 2nd phase of this project. What this project does is it's a continuation of some of the other work that we do, but we CCTV sewer and drain lines to assess if any repairs are needed. This also provides engineering support in developing documents and those sorts of things that help us manage the program. In Phase 1, just for an example, we CCTV 33 miles of sewer line, almost 9 miles of drain, inspected 727 manholes, We found a need for 11 full pipe replacements, 76 point repairs, so those are severe individual locations where we had damage, and found the need to line 320 pipes through that inspection effort. So we also looked at our 8 siphon locations, so these are where sewer pipes run down under rivers and such. Of those 8 locations, 6 of those are triple barrels, 2 of them were dual barrels, pipes ranging from 6 inches to 60 inches, and found some issues with those, so we're in the process of designing improvements for those. We also developed a number of documents. We developed collection, operation, and maintenance plan, standard operating procedures for various things, and a number of other efforts. So this, as I noted, this is kind of a continuation of that program. It's very beneficial to us to have this engineer on board, and more than half of the effort in the contract, or half of this contract total, is for those CCT efforts, so basically subcontracted work for that. So through this program, it's great too that everything that's done is, they update our GIS where there's deficiencies found and track everything through that program. So it's a very beneficial program to us. I'd be happy to answer any questions about it.
Commissioner Pappas.
I always like people to be reminded of that fraction, the difference between lining a pipe and replacing one. What percent? It's
Sure, and I appreciate bringing that up because it highlights the need and spending our dollars in the best way. It costs about 20 times more to replace a pipe than it does to line a pipe. So we're going through our system. We're probably about 30% of our system we've investigated. There's probably about 30%, which is more modern pipe that we won't need to look at. But then the remainder of the system, is still outstanding to be looked at. And finding those issues and addressing them through lining where we can is in the best long-term financial interest of the city, in addition to being very much less disruptive than digging up a pipe and replacing it.
Thank you.
Commissioner Moriarty.
Yes, thank you, Superintendent. So the whole thing is being funded through the state fund?
Yeah, it's a loan, so it's through their SRF program, State Revolving Fund Program. We were waiting for Governing Council approval of that. But yeah, it's a program that allows us to distribute the cost of that effort. As we've noticed, we've been playing catch up. We have pipes that haven't been looked at in 100 years, so this is a huge effort up front. So it's beneficial to be able to fund that and distribute that cost over a number of years.
Thank you.
Anything else? All right, all those in favor of the motion say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion passes. Next, we have item D, Commissioner Pappas.
I'll move to approve change order with Sunshine Paving Corporation of Hudson, New Hampshire for an amount not to exceed $766,725 for the paving of additional roadways. Funding will be through Department 160 Admin Engineering Fund Bond and Trust Activity Paving, and Department 169 Fund Wastewater Bond Activity Sewer Rehab.
Mr. Hudson.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. So this year's paving program is well underway. We have probably about 30 or so streets left to touch, and then about 70 that we've either completed or in the process of completing. We expect that effort to be completed in the next month and a half. This Sunshine Paving is the company that we awarded both paving contracts to this year through competitive bid. Just over 1 mile of roadways that we had planned to do this year, we couldn't do. We had to defer them for various reasons. Some were found to have poor water pipe or other issues. So there was some work that we needed to defer, but we also have the capacity to add in some additional work at the end of the year here because there's still some season left after this next month and a half. So we're proposing to add in 3.6 miles again. A mile of that or so of that's being offset via roads that we couldn't do. And this will be funded through, previously authorized bonds and contributions from various projects.
Commissioner Moriarty.
Yeah, that was my question. Just to be clear, the funding was already approved by us for the paving program, so we're not asking for more funding. It's there. It's kind of, you're redistributing for this purpose.
That's correct. There's already funding in the program. We will be coming back in the near future seeking a future bond. You may recall this paving program is set out as a 10-year program, and we're halfway through that. But yeah, this work here will be through remaining funds in what was previously approved.
Thank you.
All right, anyone else? All those in favor of the motion say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion passes. We next have item E, Commissioner Moriarty.
The motion is to approve a public easement use and occupancy agreement with the Kensington Ridge Condo Association for placement of identification sign in the West Hollis Street right-of-way.
Mr. Hudson?
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. So the Kensington Ridge Condo Association came forward to us, and they desire to replace the existing sign that they have. That sign is located in the right-of-way, well outside the travel way, but still within the public right-of-way. For it to remain in that location, we require a public easement and occupancy agreement. That indemnifies the city against any issues and just basically allows and permits it to be there. So that this is this agreement we've reviewed, legal reviewed it. I think we dropped the ball maybe last summer during COVID because this is dated back in last July. So we just realized that the other day and are bringing this forward for approval.
All right. Commissioner Moriarty.
Yes, thanks. The question I had, I don't have a problem with approving the allowance of that, but wouldn't it be helpful to have the sign that they're going to replace it with? If it's identical, there's no problem, but what if they put in, something that is really ugly or whatever, the community would not appreciate a neon sign. So, I mean, did they present what they're going to change the sign to?
My understanding is it's going to be identical, but we can verify that, and if it's something different than that, then bring that back for consideration.
Anyone? All right, all those in favor of the motion say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion passes. Next item F, Commissioner Pappas.
I'll move to approve a drain layers license for in-site excavation and site management of New Ipswich, New Hampshire, in accordance with Nashua City Code 255-19, issuance of drain layers license, and authorize the Division of Public Works to temporarily suspend the license work if the work is found to be unsatisfactory during the initial 6-month probationary period.
Any discussion? All those in favor of the motion say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion passes. Next is an informational item. Any questions on that? Commissioner Pappas.
I really think that we got to step up. This just has to do with cutting into the road. We really need to step up our game in inspecting those. I've seen some very poorly done cuts in the road. I've noticed Amherst Street, I've noticed Broad Street, and those were newly paved. Manchester, and the ones on Broad Street, it's not just the new ones where I know that they had some sort of an emergency where they had to clear a neighborhood. They didn't fix those yet, but there are several on Broad Street, and we just did that road. And that takes a really long time. I don't know if it's Liberty, but we really have to figure out who's doing that. If you go down Amherst, they're very, I've seen some very, very bad, poor fixing of patches. And I don't know if we need to move money around or get people out there inspecting, but it's not good. We're investing a lot of money in the roads. We're asking people to bond, which that's the only way we could keep the roads up, and I think we've done a good job. But we can decrease the life by 30% if we don't stay on top of this stuff. And, you know, I think we gotta find out who's not doing this well.
Do you want to speak?
Sure, I can just briefly respond to that. Lots of times when there are patches made, it's done in two steps. So there's a temporary patch, and then there's a final patch later, after things have been allowed to settle for 30 to 45 days. So we sometimes get complaints about the temporary patch because things do settle, and so there's a reason that we wait to do the final restoration. But at times, some of those patches are pretty rough. I know the one on Amherst Street, there was a major water leak that Pennachuck had there, and blew out, you know, almost the whole intersection there at the jug handle, and that was a massive issue, and it's taken a while to get them to do the final restoration, but what was out there is a temporary patch. So I won't defend every trench. As issues come up, if anybody wants to reach out to us, we can, you know, look into the specific issue and try to address it.
You should try Broad Street, I'm telling you, and they've been there for a long time. And what year did we pave that? You know, I mean, that's a heavily used road.
Well, in order to help out, could you, when you pass there, give the location so he knows which ones to look at?
Okay, I want to say there's
Like in
probably
front of
like
a-
6 of them.
In
But-
front of a particular address or addresses?
Okay,
There-
I'll have to have some in the car, because I'm not, you know.
Mr. Mayor.
But I will.
Broad Street's a long
I-
street, so it'd help to have more specifics.
Okay.
Mr. Mayor, just quickly, Liberty had an issue, a gas issue on Broad Street, where they had some of the services on the high-pressure line blew, and there was a little bit of a chain reaction. So there are about a half a dozen spots on Broad Street, unfortunately, that recently occurred due to a major gas issue that they had. You know, it was a major event. The road was shut down. People were evacuated, and so yeah, those locations will need to be restored.
Thank you.
All right, anyone else on this? All right, we'll go on to Director's Report, or excuse me,
We're on Administration A.
Yeah, Administration A, I'm sorry. Commissioner Moriarty.
The motion is to approve the maintenance agreement for the encroachment area of Myrtle Street.
And Okay, Mr. Hudson?
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. So probably everyone's aware of the major redevelopment of the Brownstein Apartments that is being undertaken. It's a partnership between Nashua Housing Redevelopment Authority and some private investors. The project's been through the planning board process, and part of the approved plan includes some parking spots along Myrtle Street, basically head-in parking off of Myrtle. Myrtle's essentially, it's almost like a driveway to this area. It's not a through street. So the parking spaces that were proposed, and maybe Diane can pull up the plan. It was in the packet, I believe, but the parking spaces encroach into the right-of-way about 2 to 4 feet. And there's a plan that was attached in the packet, and that area shaded in yellow. Obviously, things in the right-of-way need special approvals. This development and the Housing Authority has gone before Board of Aldermen to get approvals about overnight parking and various things. But the thing before this board to consider is a maintenance agreement for the encroachment area in Myrtle Street. And what it says essentially is that the developer will be responsible for maintaining those areas, which are parking areas, but maintaining those areas, removing snow from them and those sorts of things, so it's not an additional burden on Public Works. With that, I'd be happy to answer any questions. Yeah, the plan's up now, and you can kind of see Myrtle Street runs east-west there. The proposed redevelopment, the buildings are shown on the bottom of that plan, and then there's just a little sliver along Myrtle Street, and then a turnaround area. The right-of-way does a little hammerhead there. So those yellow areas are what we're talking about here. That this agreement, allows the encroachment, but then also makes them responsible for the maintenance.
Any questions of anyone? Hello? All right.
I did have a question.
Excuse me,
On that-
Commissioner
on that,
Moriarty.
Thank you, Mayor. In that bumped-in area, so the city owns that? What's the purpose of us owning it? Why don't we just sell that little piece to the?
Yeah, I mean, so that's a good point. It is one of the things we discussed with this group. I mean, we did talk about, should we do like a partial street discontinuance or that sort of thing? And they need to get this financing deal done quickly, and so it was decided that the most logical and expeditious thing was to go forward with these type of agreements versus pursue the discontinuance at this time. Maybe at some point in the future that'll be considered.
Thank you.
All right, anything else? All those in favor of the motion say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion passes.
Thank you.
Thank you. So we now have the director's report.
It's up on the screen. Okay. Okay, this first slide is an ADA ramp that we built on Belova Street on July 29th to match the new pavement. The next is the final paving on Northeastern Boulevard. We did that on August 6th. The striping should have been done, I think, yesterday, and if it's not done, it will be done soon. This is sewer reconstruction on Tufts Drive. We installed a new sewer pipe, and that was done by SUR West on July 30th. Our own Lauren Byers was presented Public Works Employee of the Year from the Lions Club on August 9th. We had a nice dinner at the Nashua Country Club that the Lions invited us to, and the mayor presented Lauren with the award. So very excited and very well deserved. Our pools now, unfortunately, are having to close due to staffing issues. Crown Hill Pool closed on Sunday, August 22nd. Rotary closed Monday, August 23rd, and Centennial will be closing this Saturday. But we've had a successful year with pools. With the help of some dedicated volunteers, we had a canal cleanup of Mine Falls Park on August 14th, and they did remove a considerable amount of trash. So thank you to those volunteers for their efforts. We are converting some tennis courts to pickleball courts, as Commissioner Pappas mentioned earlier. You can see the installation of fencing separating the courts, and we'll be very soon temporarily lining the courts so they'll be open for play, and then we'll be professionally painting them as soon as a contractor becomes available. We're doing some playing field renovations at Lincoln Park. The street department is doing that work. Park and Rec is helping a bit, but mostly the street department is doing that. And we anticipate that this will be completed in late fall of 2021. So we waited until, the reason we're just doing this now is because we wanted to wait until all the different games and activities were completed before we tore up the fields. This is sidewalk repair on East Pearl Street. We did this, we had to remove some trees because we need to reposition some utility poles for the Performing Arts Center. So this is some sidewalk repair that we did. And new trees will be planted elsewhere in the future. This is mill and fill operations on Edmund Ave, Sioux Ave, and Huron Drive. This is repair to an access ramp at the Nashua School District, the preschool on Franklin Street. This is a picture of crews cleaning a drainage swale on Murphy Drive. The swale needed to be dredged to mitigate water backups in the area. This is crews working to replace old and crushed drainage lateral at 300 Main Street. This is, these crews were building a wall cap on Taylor Street that was damaged during the snow plowing season. Our Sally Highland, our recycling coordinator, retired on Friday, August 20th. She had been our recycling coordinator for 32 years.
Wow.
So she takes a lot with her, and just absolutely wonderful lady, and will truly be missed. So I was able to take her out for lunch before she left, so it
Who's
was
going to
nice
do
to be
the
able to chat with her.
announcements? Who's going to do the announcements on Channel 16 now?
That's a good question. We don't know yet. We don't know yet. That may end up going, it's sort of interesting. Apparently Administrative Services
Okay.
always did that, and then somebody left and there was nobody to do it, so Sally ended up taking it over. So it may go back to Administrative Services, not sure, but she definitely contributed a lot to the city, and we really appreciate all that she's done. She started the recycling program, and a sort of a fun fact is that Mayor Don just hired her in his first term as mayor. 32 years ago, so. This is our household hazardous waste collection that took place on Saturday, August 7th. We had 104 households that participated from Nashua, 288 households in total. And the next collection takes place in Pelham on Saturday, August 28th. And just to remind everybody, the Fort Hills Landfill and Recycling Center will be closed on Monday, September 6th in observance of Labor Day. So all curbside collections will be delayed one day during that week. I think that's it.
Any questions for the director? All right, commissioners' comments. Any commissioners have comments? Commissioner
If I
Pappas.
may, it looks like we put fill in over on Nottingham. Has anyone spoken to the neighbors?
For the curb?
Yeah, because I
Yes.
think the curbs were significantly higher. They were measured. And I know that it's well-meaning, but I know people on another street were upset, and that maybe, we really might want to take a look, because especially if the street's narrow, it does narrow the street significantly. But I haven't heard if the fill has helped, but.
It looks much better. So that Nottingham, the reason that was done is because we had so many complaints about drainage issues.
Okay.
And so the curb was placed to help mitigate that. So I think that everybody is satisfied. I haven't heard any complaints since we
Okay.
backfilled the curb,
Okay.
but, I agree. We're not gonna just go adding curb for no reason. It was because so many residents had drainage problems and washouts so that's why we put that curb there. But
Yeah.
I think it looked worse before it was backfilled. I think it looks better now.
Yeah.
But it still is a change.
But,
I understand that.
and as I said, the other thing is we don't allow people to park on the streets at night. So a lot of people do have to use their lawns. And, so that's why we might think of that. I got a couple of pictures of cars parked on lawns in that area.
Okay.
But, and then the one I know, Director, you don't have any control over, but I continue, people are very upset over Main Street that we're stuck in traffic and the tables are empty, and a half a year, everyone I think supports it for this year, but I think after this year, I think they're planning on doing it another couple of years, and I think it's a mistake, and I think it makes people angry, and it makes them avoid downtown. And that's really unfortunate, because that's the opposite of what we want. We want people to go downtown. For next year, I was, to have to get to the hospital, if you have to go down Main Street, that does take an awfully long time. And if we looked at maybe for a few weekends to have like if you want a festival type of feel, we could, and it would probably be cheaper in overtime than putting those barriers down. If we could block off certain parts of Main Street and be able to make sure that people can get to the hospitals, maybe, you know, a few weekends during the summer, so that you can have that festival type of feel, and then people won't be aggravated. That's my suggestion. Thank you.
Any other comments? All right, we're going to go to personnel. Commissioner Pappas, item A.
I'll move to accept the retirement of Catherine Zilfin, automated trash collection operator, effective August 6th.
All those in favor of the motion, say aye.
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 Motion
Can I,
passes.
is that my lady?
Probably, if you have a woman, we don't have very many.
Yeah.
so. She probably-
Had it for a long time.
Yeah, she's, Kathy had been with the department for 30 years, so.
Yeah, no, she was great.
Yeah.
All right, item B, Commissioner Moriarty.
Move to accept the retirement of Sally Highland, recycling coordinator, effective August 20th, 2021.
Comments, anyone? All those in favor of the motion, say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, motion passes. Item C, Commissioner Pappas.
I'll move to accept the retirement of Henry Boucher, street foreman, effective August 20th, 2021.
All those in favor of the motion, say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, motion passes. Item D, Commissioner Moriarty.
Move to approve and unseal the non-public minutes for personnel from the Board of Public Works meeting of July 22nd, 2021.
All those in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Motion passes. Now we have a non-public session. Is there a motion on that?
I move by roll call that the board go into non-public session pursuant to RSA 91-A3, Roman numeral 2B, the hiring of any person as a public employee.
All right. Diane, could you please call the roll?
Yes, Commissioner Pappas,
Yes?
Commissioner Moriarty,
Yes.
Mayor Dantes.
Yes. And the motion passes, and we're now in non-public session. All right, we're back in public session. Commissioner Moriarty.
I move by roll call to seal the minutes of the Board of Public Works Personnel non-public meeting of August 27, 2021, until such time as the majority of the board votes that the purpose of the confidentiality would no longer be served.
And is that by roll call, or is that?
Yes, it's by roll call, Mayor.
By roll call, okay. Could you please call the roll?
Commissioner Tease?
Yes.
Commissioner Moriarty?
Yes.
Mayor Dantes.
Yes, motion passes. Commissioner Tease.
I move to adjourn.
All those in favor say aye.
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 Motion passes, and the meeting of the Board of Public Works is adjourned at 11:30 a.m.